Hello friends, I am Abhinash and we are continuing the DNS configuration. In this video, we will deploy a domain controller and also validate it. We will also see the ADI, primary and secondary DNS, and we'll also work with DNS database. Let us start the installation of Active Directory. Add the role Active Directory Domain Services, add features, next and install. And promote this server to a domain controller. We are building the first domain controller. So we have to choose add a new forest. Okay, the next page appears here. We will select the highest function level, Windows Server 2016, and we have to select here the DSRM password. Next. So let us install. And event viewer. Here we can see the logs of the Active Directory. And event ID is 326. Entity as A, the database engine attached database. Active Directory Domain Service is rebuilding the following number of indices as part of the initialization process. Active Directory Domain server does not support the recycle bin. The following schema was modified. Service control. Startup completed is now the inter-site topology generator. It's now servicing the specified directory instance. And this one. And see this one, startup events, advertising. DFS replication successfully registered. Okay, DFS replication started successfully. Contacted domain controller. This one, see, this is a very good information. Global setting required sysvol migration have been successfully created on the PDC server 1. This information. Set up RPC listener. DFS replication service is successfully initialized sysvol. Local path. See, here is the path. This member is designated primary member of this replicated folder. To check the presence of sysvol, share open in command prompt and then type netshare. DNS application directory partition. See, there is application directory already created. Let's verify the Active Directory installation. Netshare, folder information, net logon, admin share, IPC share, $. The Active Directory server is ready. And here, right here, netdom query fsmo. This server is role owner of all the roles in Active Directory. dc diag / test : advertising. Server 1 passed test advertising. That means this server is now Active Directory domain controller. Let us see the DNS settings after installation of Active Directory. So we see here the domain we have created when it was not an Active Directory server, and we had created a domain avinsoffice.com. It is still there, and we see some more information has come like MS, DCS, sites, TCP, UDP. We will come to know about all this. And what about the databases of the DNS? Still is there avinsoffice.com.dns. So let's see the properties of this particular domain. And we see here the zone file name, and you see replication is not active, not an Active Directory integrated zone. So how can we change here? from primary zone to Active Directory, and what happens when we make changes to Active Directory Integrated. Now I'm changing to Active Directory Integrated. So just to change that, store the zone in AD. After changing to Active Directory Integrated, we see a data is stored in Active Directory. So one copy of this particular .dns file is stored in the Active Directory, and this is no more in use. So how to test that? So what I do, let's have a look on this particular avinsuffice.com.dns file. Double click and open it with Notepad. Okay, there's so many information has come here. LDAP, GC, Global Catalog, Kerberos, Global Catalog, TCP, LDAP, TCP, SRV, and these are SRV record, not only A record. So what if I enter some information over here? Server 10 A 172.16.0.100. Now save it, save, close it. What if it's reload? Yes, then refresh. You don't see that because this is Active Directory integrated. So what if we change to back to primary? Click here, store, uncheck it, and OK, and yes, and OK. So here it is now. Refresh. Let's open it one more time and see what is there. See, we had entered server 10 and the IP address of 172. It's no more here. And then let's add server 10 A 172.100. Okay. Now save it, file and save, and close. Then reload. Yes, and then refresh. See, it came. So when it is primary, it is picking up from this particular database file, avinsurface.com.dns. But when we make it Active Directory integrated, change, store, okay, apply, and okay, refresh. What do we create a new uh, host here? File server 10 172.16.0.100. Make it 110. Okay, and node create, add host, close, done. So does it update here as well? Let's try to open it. No, it's not updating here. We had created a record file server 10. Here is server 10 only. It is not creating. So what if we make again this to primary? Let's change it. Server 10, you see here, file server 10. It has already created. Whenever we change from Active Directory to primary, or it override the existing file. We have DNS server 2. We will join this computer to the domain and we'll see how does it works. Let's join it to the domain. Sysdm.cpl change domain. Let us start with iterative query. And iterative query is something like a client computer does a query to the DNS server, The DNS server responds immediately without referring any other DNS server. That is called iterative query. Let us see how does it work. We have created one domain here, testdomain.com, and the host is one. So its name is one.testdomain.com. Let's see ping.testdomain.com, and it gets the reply. If you see here the frame number 17, the source is the client one, dot 12 is the IP address, and destination is the dot 10 is the DNS server, and DNS server reply here the second frame. The next frame DNS set reply on frame number 18, the DNS reply with the success message, and this is called iterative query. Let's see a recursive query. Recursive query is something when client computer requests an IP address of a host or FQDN to DNS server, and DNS server doesn't have any information, but it knows from where it should get the information. So it will refer to other DNS server and will get the information and then send it to client one. So to do this exercise, we have DNS server 1, DNS server 2, and we have one client computer. So on DNS server 2, we'll create a zone, for example, or a domain with zone, like my domain dot org. Then next, and then finish. And here we'll create a host record. So what I'll do on DNS server 1, the process is to do a delegation. We will create a delegation here on DNS server 1. So first we'll create a new zone. So it was an org zone. So we'll do an org, and then finish. And in org we have to delegate new delegation, and my domain. I have I have the name server2 resolve. Okay, so it shows green. That means this particular server is the owner of mydomain.org zone or domain. Click OK, next, and then finish. See here, it has created one name server record. So this is a delegation. Network monitor, and we'll try to ping that IP. What was the IP? Tap mydomain.org. Dot my domain. Yes, it got an IP address. So let's see the monitoring. How does it work? And then stop it. Frame number 15. Client has requested a query to DNS and to resolve my domain.org. What DNS does? Server 1 requested the DNS server. See 192.168.0.8. Here is the destination. So what kind of query it is doing to DNS server 2? Query is the queue record is mydomain.org, and what the DNS server 2 is responding with the answer, and it is not responding to the client 1, it is responding to server 1. And then DNS server has this information, so it saves in its cache and also send this information to client 1 that yes, the IP address of the requested host is this one. Let's see where does it saves in the cache, DNS server cache. Open and go to view, advanced, cache lookup, root, org, my domain. See here. So DNS server cache it and also forward it to the requesting client. Let us create a secondary DNS server. So here we have created multiple zones, and in multiple zones we have multiple host records. All these records I have created using PowerShell script. So let's create the secondary DNS on this particular DNS server. So we have two DNS server here, DNS server 1 and DNS server 2. So on DNS server 2 we are going to create the secondary zone. So first we will try with the test domain.local. To create a secondary zone, we need to do some configuration on the master server or master zone. So let's do the configuration. Go to properties, and in the properties we have a tab named as zone transfer. So we have three options here to which server we can transfer. First option is to any other server. Open to all the DNS servers comes and get all my records. This is not a good for all the time. Second option is the listed name servers. So we have name server tabs here. Whatever the name servers added here, it will transfer to those only. Third option, we have the option to enter the details of the DNS server. So let's enter one entry here, 192.168.8. Okay, and see what it shows. Timeout occurred during validation. We can ignore this and click OK and apply. Let us go to the DNS server 2, and we should create here new zone. The same zone we will create. Select the secondary zone, and in the zone name we will create the same zone which we had here, test domain.local, and then test domain.local. Then next, here enter the master server DNS server IP. We can write here server 1, and it should resolve. Yes, it has resolved. 10, next, and then finish. You see here it has created a test domain.local. Secondary zone or secondary DNS is just a read-only copy. We cannot make changes. If you see here on the domain, we do not have any option to create new host record or new domain or anything else. But we will do some testing here. Let's do something additional. You see here test domain.local.dns. So we'll open this DNS file. Let's go and open. Test domain, yeah, here is the test domain. Let's open it and notepad and OK. Maximize. See here it has all the records. So let's do something additional work like my file server, then a record, then 80.0.0.30. Okay, and then we'll reload. Yes, then refresh. See here, when we reload it from the database.dns file, it has reloaded this DNS record, whereas it will not replicate back to the master because it is only getting update from the master. That's it. But what is the meaning? It is a read only from here. But when we make changes in the database, it displays here. Let's see something else. What happens if we do transfer from master? Let's do transfer from master. I think we should open here the Netmon. It has transferred. Yes, it has completed the transfer. Refresh it. See, it is still there. So what does it mean by transfer? Let's do something else. I'll create a record, new host record, and it has created a record. Now let's do something here. Zone transfer from master. Refresh. Refresh here. See here, my file server, still I see, and my server, both the record. So it has copied only the record which is updated in the master. But there is one more option. Transfer new copy of zone from master. Let's do it and see what happens. Do some, yes, see, there are so many information on TCP query success. How many A records it has sent. You see, all the records it is getting sent to the secondary zone. So it is done, it's completed. And let's see on the DNS server. Refresh it. Yes. See, the my file server record is no more existing on the test.domain.local. So whenever we do this transfer new copy of zone from master, what does it do? It override the existing one. So let's see on the file as well. Double click here, then open with Notepad and see at the bottom. Do we have anything? No, it's only my server. Let us do some analysis of the packets to know more about the zone transfer. Let us study the frame number 66 and the port is same 53. What is the description? Query for standard query for test domain.local. Let us further expand the DNS query and what we see. Let's see. Query here, query record test domain.local, type of record AXFR, question type, request for a transfer of an entire zone. So this is a request from server 2. Server 1 replies at frame number 67. Let's see here. So here is the question. So it knows, and here is the answer. You see here the record, it has started sending all the records from 10.1 till 11.65, and then server 1 again. See, it sends the record from 12.119, and if we see 67, frame number 67, till what record it has sent? 11.65. Some more record it has sent. So this is the analysis. So I leave it up to you, and you should also do analysis at your end in your lab. And if you have any question, you should ask the question in the comment. If you like this video, please like, subscribe and comment.